But what gives you the right to say that? I mean, maybe that's how women want their relationships, those women. I mean, you're making these vast generalizations.
I'm a clinical psychologist.
Right,
Oh
so
my
you're saying
God.
you've done your research and
I'm a clinical psychologist, so, I would know, even though I spread lots of misinformation about psychology all the time. Oh, fuck. Whew. Yeah, I don't know about that. Ooh. You know what? Are we ready to fucking transition this here stream? I think we are. I think I'm ready. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do now. I'm going to react to Jordan Peterson's bile. His little shtick, his little bullshit. And we're gonna try to see if we can like debunk him. Okay, we're gonna try to defunk him. We're gonna defunk him. We're gonna remove the funk. Oh, we're gonna have to start it over. All right. My God, it's like, well,
Bruh.
it's like, well.
Listen, you've said that men need to, quote, grow the hell up. Tell me why.
Grow the hell up.
Well, because there's nothing uglier than an old infant. There's nothing good about it. People who don't grow up don't find the sort of meaning in their life that sustains them through difficult times, and they're certain to encounter difficult times. And they're left bitter and resentful and without purpose and adrift and hostile and resentful and vengeful and arrogant and deceitful and of no use to themselves and of no use to anyone else and no partner for a woman, and there's nothing in it that's good.
So you say, I mean, that sounds.
Why do they need a partner for a woman? Why not a man?
Does it bother you that your audience is predominantly male? Isn't that a bit divisive?
No, I don't think so. I mean, it's no more divisive than the fact that YouTube is primarily male and Tumblr is
Well, that's
primarily
pretty divisive,
female.
isn't
Well, but Tumblr is primarily female.
Okay, but nowadays you literally have said that like you aim your message at men, and they just so happen to be white men. And you literally say that like, yeah, you're like, oh, whoa, what's the bloody problem with me aiming my message at men? It's like, well, they need a lot of help. It's like, fuck you, man. You're aiming it at men. Just fucking admit it.
But you're just saying that's the way it is.
Well, I'm not saying anything. It's just an observation that that's the way it is. There's plenty of women that are watching my lectures and coming to my talks and buying my books. It's just that the majority of them happen to be men.
What's in it for the women, then?
And also, like, there are YouTube channels aplenty on YouTube. That was redundant. Whatever. There are plenty of channels on YouTube that are predominantly, female occupied. It's like, well, what's the deal with that? So that's my retort.
Well, what sort of partner do you want? You want an overgrown child? Or do you want someone to contend with that's going to help you and that
So
you
you're
can
saying
rely on?
women have some sort of duty to sort of help fix the crisis of masculinity?
It depends on what they want. No, I mean, it's exactly...
Hold on, so what you're...
Exactly how I laid it out. Like, women deeply want men who are competent and powerful. And I don't mean power in that they can exert tyrannical control over others. That's not power. That's just corruption. Power is competence. And why in the world would you not want a competent partner? Well, I know why, actually. You can't dominate a competent partner. So if you want...
Okay, so what he's saying is that if a woman wants a dominant, competent partner, she's gonna have to, help him with that. She's in a way responsible for helping the young man, which is, kind of ridiculous, but he didn't explicitly say that. But when she said the burden is kind of on women too to help these men be, not like incels, like he's kind of saying it is. Like, it is. Yeah. Because he never really, he never pushed back
Women
on
don't
that.
say that. I mean, maybe that's how women want their relationships, those women. I mean, you're making these vast generalizations.
I'm a clinical psychologist.
Right,
Oh
so
my
you're saying
God.
you've done your research and
I'm a clinical psychologist, so, I would know, even though I spread lots of misinformation about psychology all the time.
women are unhappy dominating men.
I didn't say they were unhappy dominating men. I said it was a bad long-term solution.
Okay, you said it was
It's not the
making them
same
miserable.
thing. Yes, it is. And it depends on the
So it
time
makes them
frame. I mean,
unhappy, right? If you're miserable, you are unhappy. Therefore, it makes you unhappy, yes? So what she said is correct.
there's intense pleasure in momentary domination. That's why people do it all the time. But it's no formula for a successful long-term relationship. That's reciprocal, right?
Well, what about men who do that too, dude? What about men who exert tyrannical control, let's say, on women? You're not really bringing that up at all, because that happens pretty often.
So it seems to a lot of women that they're still being dominated and excluded, to quote your words back to you.
It does seem that way, but multivariate analysis of the pay gap indicate that it doesn't exist.
Yeah, but she said that they were getting paid illegally, so by the same, human rights standards and things like that, or, certain policies on not discriminating on the grounds of sex or gender, they're getting paid illegally less than men for the same job. So what she says is completely unrelated to what you're saying right now. Because what you're saying is, in general, the pay gap doesn't exist, on a broader sense between men and women, because men, I know what his fucking dialogue tree is. It's like they choose, higher paying jobs than women. But what she's saying is they have the same job and they're getting paid less than men for the same job, and it's illegal.
Women are more agreeable than men.
Again, a vast generalization. Some
It's not
women
a
are not more
generalization.
agreeable than
Yes,
men.
that's true.
Then yeah, there's plenty of stubborn women who have their opinions and they don't change, just like men. Now, yeah, maybe women might be less outspoken than men, but that's not because they're less agreeable. It's because they're used to just having to fucking kiss the boot.
Surely
So
the
you need
answer...
about another 18 factors, one of which is gender. And there is prejudice. There's no doubt.
By the way, I love how he's interlacing sex and gender as if they are the same thing, because he also says in other interviews that the claim that sex and gender are different is wrong, even though that's just literally not true. He just doesn't agree.
But it accounts for a much smaller proportion of the variance in the pay gap than the radical feminists claim.
The radical
so rather than
feminists.
denying the pay gap.
It's very radical, to demand equal pay for the same job. It's like, well, I mean, think about it.
There's that. But I also didn't deny it existed. I denied it existed because of gender.
Okay.
See, because I'm very, very, very careful with my words.
So when you talk about, cultural Marxism, and, I've researched, the Nazis back in World War II, and I know, all of the material backwards and frontwards about the Nazis and about cultural Bolshevism. I'm very careful with my words. I know exactly what I'm saying when I refer to that.
So, simple question. Is gender equality a myth in your view? Is that something that's just never going to happen?
It depends on what you mean by equality.
Uh-oh.
If you mean
He's going to be like, equality of outcome. Then no, that's wrong, man. That's bloody wrong. You don't want equality of outcome, because then people will be able to have the same starting line, and that's not a good idea. That's bloody not. It's not a good idea. If you have equal outcome for black people, if they're growing up in these poor environments as compared to, white folk like me, well, then they'll have the same opportunity. And that's not good at all.
That whole well-being thing, man.
Oh,
as a
here
big
we go.
Basis for a metaphysics, that's just a non-starter.
We're not basing metaphysics on it.
Sam is.
No, he's not.
Yes, he is, because he's out to
Well,
maximize
you
well-being.
can take it up with Sam.
Well, okay, sorry. Do you
Because-
think I'm wrong about that claim? That's what I understood.
I
from
don't think
reading
Look
it.
at
Sam's
how
saying it.
red and like nervous he is and like hunched over and like defensive he is here. He's never had that stance anywhere else besides here. You'll see why.
Anything metaphysical about it. I think so. Here's the thing: we are physical beings.
Well, it's his fundamental claim. So it's sort of at the basis of his ethic. And so he says, well, we should work to maximize people's well-being, or at least to, well, he does a bit more than that, because he says we should
so he's
minimize their
not-
suffering.
He's not maximize, minimize in this sense of simple consequentialism. Let me do this.
Okay.
We're physical beings in a physical universe, and the laws that dictate how things work in the universe, they are the ultimate arbiters of what is or isn't in our best interest, whether we know it or not. So, for example, so far as I can tell,
Then why do you need free will?
I don't think
Why
we
do you
need
believe
free
in
will.
it then?
I-
Why do you attribute agency to things if the
Why-
laws of the
Can I
universe can
Get,
Why is that? Hold on. I just want to know why that's his question to that. And why he's like trying so hard to like fucking almost Kathy Newman him. So I think his misunderstanding here is that he seems to be thinking that Matt, that's his name, Matt Dillahunty, we actually share birthdays, March 31st. Anyway, I think Jordan Peterson's like problem here is that he seems to be misunderstanding that he thinks that Matt is saying that the universe dictate what's good for us, and that's like a contradiction to like free will and having agency over your own life. I think that's what he's saying, or that's what Jordan Peterson's like problem is.
to that one point.
Well, yeah, but there was a contradiction
Because
that was confusing me.
free will isn't relevant to this.
It's not that relevant, yeah.
It is if the laws of the universe are what are dictating what's good for us.
No,
No.
because if you chop off my head, that is clearly not good for me. And it doesn't matter whether it was an act of free will or if it was my lawnmower.
It's clearly not good for you because you think you're valuable and worth preserving.
Yes.
Okay, that's the issue. Why do you think you're valuable and worth preserving?
Such a little
Because I am the
cunt.
descendants of people who thought they were valuable and worth preserving, and the ones who didn't think that have killed themselves. But this is not a statement about
Fucked. Rolled.
this is not a statement about intrinsic value.
I don't know. Yes,
No, it isn't.
Okay, but I think it is.
Okay.
No, it's not.
The reason that we talk about this in terms of well-being is because irrespective of whether or not I care about well-being, there are facts about well-being.
Sure, let's hear him, man. Line those suckers up.
If you chop off my head, it's in contradiction to my well-being. I mean, but the point
No,
of-
I wasn't willing to grant that, actually.
Mm.
Okay.
I'm saying that's a metaphysical presupposition.
Um,
You're just saying I have to accept that.
No, I'm not telling you
because
at all what to accept.
Sure you are. You're saying
I'm
that
trying
death would be
I'm
Oh my
wrong.
trying
God.
to explain what my position is.
Okay,
Yeah.
but you said that wouldn't be in accordance with your well-being.
yeah.
Okay, that's a metaphysical statement or philosophical statement. It's not an
no.
obvious fact.
That
That's not
chopping
a
off somebody's
fact.
head is contrary to their well-being.
It depends on how you define well-being.
Oh,
Sure.
God, here we go.
Yeah, but it matters.
But if you define well-being as this glass of water, we're no longer talking about the same thing.
Well, you can define well-being. That's fine. That's what I'm waiting for.
This is
Look
what I'm-
at him.
You can't do it.
Hold on.
Define well-being.
Look at that. Look at the difference in their stances. He's pretty relaxed. He's kind of hunched over because he's like, what? He's kind of like trying to figure out like what the fuck, this little is doing. And, and he's just kind of sitting there thinking, bruh. And Jordan's over here in the chair, just. So Matt is trying to understand what Jordan's saying, but Jordan is just kind of going off like. Oh my fucking God. Anyway, so yeah, it's really funny how he's kind of like intently listening and kind of trying to carefully explain to Jordan, you know, why why he's kind of misunderstanding his whole premise. And Jordan is just kind of like angrily, defensively sitting there like, no, like this is wrong.
Those are, okay, so, but what you're saying, if you're
Oh my
saying,
God.
correct me-
Look at how fucking like nervous he is. He's just like, oh my God, like I'm just like trying to dismantle your argument, but I can't really like have any sort of direct opposition yet.